Hello and welcome to a Lovely Yarn podcast. My name is Amber. Today is Thursday. It is March 28th already. I think that's right. I think it's the 28th. Easter is Sunday and that's the 31st. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to be back here with you guys. I am sitting here surrounded, you can't see it, but I'm surrounded by my knitting projects. I am feeling extremely inspired, which is what typically happens in the spring. Spring is my favorite season by far, followed closely by summer, but I just love spring because everything is coming back to life. Everything is budding. Our trees actually are in bloom. Our fruit trees, our almond trees, our weeping cherry tree. We have so much going on right now with just beautiful new life coming back. It's a little early. I will say we don't typically experience it this early, but I feel like that is happening all across the United States this year. It seems to me, from what I've heard from other podcasters and just friends that live in different areas, that we've all had a very unseasonably warm winter. So I'm okay with it. I'm super excited just to have the green coming back into our landscape. So anyway, thank you guys again so much for joining here with me today while I talk about my knitting. I have some crochet. I actually have I don't even know what to call it. It's an old knit project that I am I'm recycling it, okay, out of necessity because but we'll get to that. We will get to that towards the end of the podcast. So the first thing I want to talk about is what I'm wearing. This is my newest Felix pullover. I have podcasted about this in the two previous episodes. I was working on this because it was a spontaneous cast on. I just needed a comfort knit, so I had cast this on because I'm very familiar with this pattern. I love it. It's mindless, yet it's a very practical piece for me to have in my wardrobe. So I finished this up. It's all blocked. I'm going to put in some video of me wearing it so that you can see it, like the whole, because it's hard to see with me just sitting here, right? But I'm really liking this. I like the yarn that I chose, and which, let me tell you what that is. For those of you, you can get more details about this. There it is. There's my project bag. By going back to my previous two episodes, but I will just go over things very quickly here again. So I used Knit Picks Heatherly. That's the wrong tag. Hold on one second. Let me see if I have a tag. Knit Picks Heatherly worsted weight yarn, and this is the teddy bear colorway. So it's a light pink with some, like, I would say kind of, I don't want to say brown undertones, but it's definitely more of a mauvey pink. And it's 80% acrylic and 20% merino wool. It is a hand wash only yarn, which is fine. I actually prefer, I use superwash, but for garments, I often find it stretches when you block, and I didn't notice this stretching at all. And then I held it double with this Make It Tweed. Let me show you the tag for this. And I still have quite a bit left. These are 50-gram balls. I bought two, and I probably only used 25 grams off of this second skein. And then I used 2.5 skeins of this. And this was, let me see, 218 yards. But I held them double, so it is, I got a rather large gauge. Let me see if I can just put this down just a tad bit. I feel like that's better. Okay, so I knitted a size 2 for this, and I've knitted the size 2 in the past, but I feel like this gave me, I must have been knitting a little bit looser. I must have a looser gauge on this project than my last Felix pullover, because this one's definitely baggier. I've got more room, but I love it because this was supposed to be like a knitted sweatshirt, and that's exactly what it feels like. Now, where I did not follow pattern is I did not do the decreases on the sleeve. I wanted the more feminine look of the balloon sleeve, so I did not decrease at all. I picked up my stitches, however many the pattern said to pick up, and I just did straight stockinette down to the very end. And then right before I started the ribbing, I think I had 48 stitches. I think I had 48 stitches on the sleeve, and then I decreased down to 36. And then I did the ribbing with 36. Yes, that's what I did. And then I did a tubular bind off because I like the tubular bind off. It gives a nice, neat edge. I, however, did not do the tubular bind off on the bottom because I get overwhelmed whenever I have a large circumference that I have to do the tubular bind off on, because whenever you do that particular bind off, you're supposed to leave a tail that is 3 times the length of what you're binding off. So although it would be very nice to have that on the bottom, the hem of the bottom of the sweater is much larger. And when you're like stitching with that long tail, it just kind of gets under my skin because it's a lot to manage, I guess. It's not really that much to manage. I just don't prefer it. Let me just put it that way. And so I just did a bind off in pattern for the bottom, and I don't even care. Like, it's fine. It's stretchy enough for me. Maybe it doesn't look exactly like it would have if I would have done a tubular, but I'm not that particular about my knits. I'm really not. So, yes. I also knit it longer than what the pattern said to do. Maybe I'll get up here and show you, because I wanted it to, so it's hitting right at, like, here's the top of my hip bone. So it's like a little bit below, a couple of inches below my hip bone. And you can get a close up of how fun that Make It Tweed is, held double with yarn. And I can see myself buying more of the Make It Tweed and doing, I have a lot of gray yarn. I could see myself making another Felix pullover in gray with the Make It Tweed held double with it. So, yeah, I think that's all that I want to say, other than the pattern calls for size 10 knitting needles. I don't think I've ever knit on size 10. No, I haven't. I've always used size 9. Someone had asked me why, because I have mentioned that before. And that the only reason is because I like the gauge with size 9 needles. I like the fabric I get with them. So you can do whatever you want. If you would want a looser, like, I'm really glad. So my other 2 Felix pullovers were much denser, which is another reason I think I must have been knitting looser than normal, because this one's definitely drapier. So, yeah, really happy with it. It's definitely going to be one that I grab often because it is so cozy and comfy. Okay, so that's my first finished object. My second is a pair of socks that I knit for my husband for his birthday. I didn't grab my sock blockers, but you guys don't need to see these on sock blockers. I'm going to show you the yarn that I used. It's another Opal yarn. I love Opal yarn. It's a very hard-working yarn. Here are the colorway here. And I'll put the details of this down below as well for every project, like Ravelry links. Oh, speaking of Ravelry, I've also had people ask me if I keep my projects updated on Ravelry. I don't. I don't care for using Ravelry like that. I can see why it would be super helpful, but it just feels like another step of things to do that I'm just not, I just don't want to do it. So I don't have details on Ravelry about my projects. I talk about them here on my podcast, and that's pretty much it. So if there's something that you want to take note of that I'm talking about, it's best just to like jot it down in your cell phone or whatever, so that, because I don't have it written down anywhere online for you to access. I do have a knitting journal that I keep notes in just for my personal information for if I go to reknit a project in the future. But even that is very bare bones. I just find that all that recording, it's funny because I'm very organized in a lot of ways, but in my knitting, it's more of my creative space and my creative hobby. So I feel like when I have to record stuff and be organized with that, it kind of bogs me down. So, all right, so back to the birthday socks. My husband's birthday is at the end of April, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't watch my podcast. He's too busy. So, but anyway, I finished these socks for him. I love these. Look how nice these are, right? They're so pretty. I love these colors. Okay, let me give you a close up. I didn't block them. I don't block socks unless they're lace socks, and I hardly ever do lace socks. But anyway, yep, these are for my husband. I don't really have a lot to say about them because they're just plain socks, stockinette socks. I think I knit them on a US 1 needle. I use the 9-inch circulars, and I forget how many stitches. I probably did 60 stitches, cast on 60 or maybe 64. I don't even remember that. I need to go back and recount and then write it all down so that I can have that for future reference. But yeah, these are done. And his birthday's the end of April, so I got them done with plenty of time to spare. I'm so proud of myself because that does not typically happen. Typically I am furiously knitting up until like the night before or the day of. Yes. And I still have quite a bit of that yarn left over. What do you guys do with all your commercial sock yarn? I have a lot of commercial sock yarn, like this quantity of it, because I have a lot of mini skeins that I put into blankets and stuff, but I haven't actually used those mini skeins that I've used. Mostly have all been indie dyed yarn, and I haven't done anything with my commercial sock yarn yet. So if you have ideas, drop them down below. Okay, let's move on to my whips. Now, my next whip is a very beautiful sock. It's a brand new pattern that by 3 by the Sea Designs. And the ladies there actually sent me as a gift the pattern. And so I actually cast it on right away. They sent me the fingering weight and the DK weight. They're called the Serene socks. So let me show you a picture. I just black and white, so it's not super helpful, but I'm going to show you the sock here in a second. So they have a fingering weight version as well as a DK weight version, and I have had this DK weight sock yarn in my stash for it's been multiple years. I don't even know when I bought it, but it is by Sock Obsession Yarns. I'll show you the tag. And it is called Extra Solar. It's a 75/25 merino nylon, 245 yards. Look at that. It's beautiful. And let me show you what I have so far. So I am knitting on the 9-inch circulars, which is what I always use for my socks. And the pattern calls for a size 3. I believe, but I'm using I didn't have a size 3, so I'm using a 2. And instead of doing, this pattern comes with sizes for 3 different sizes of feet. Normally, if I would have had the size 3 needles, I would have cast on the smallest size, but because I'm using a 2, I just jumped up to the second size. And so this is, I can tell it's going to be perfect for my foot and my leg. But look at how pretty. So it has this pattern on the front, but she also tells you how you can do it the whole way around the sock. But I just decided to do it on the front, and then the back is just stockinette. And I just started the heel flap. They are knit top down and with the heel flap and gusset. So the way I do my socks is I do them on 9-inch circulars, but then I usually do the heel flap on double pointed needles because it's just back and forth. It's just easier. You could do it. I used to do it all on the 9-inch circulars, but it's just a little bit more finicky. So then I just switch over for the heel flap. I switch over to the double pointed needles. And then of course I have to use DPNs for do the toe decreases, because it gets to be too small of a circumference for your 9-inch circulars. But so squishy. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time. I feel like it's been a long time since I've done a DK weight sock. And I think this is the first time I've actually knit with an official DK weight yarn. I think all my other DK weight socks, I've just held fingering weight double. So this is beautiful yarn, a beautiful pattern. And the very exciting thing is that the ladies from 3 by the Sea Designs would love to give away this pattern to one of my viewers. So thank you ladies so much for that. So if you are interested in winning a copy of this pattern, and I don't know, I think you could probably pick if you want the fingering weight or the DK weight if you are the winner. But if you're interested in winning a copy of this, just comment down below and let me somehow know that you are interested, because I realize not everyone is a sock knitter. So just comment below and mention that you'd like to be considered for the giveaway for the sock pattern. And thank you ladies so much. 3 by the Sea Designs, thank you so much for sending me this fun pattern. It's very fun, it's easy, it's not hard at all. And also donating a copy for a giveaway. I appreciate it so much. All right, so moving on, I have another sock that I want to show you that I am knitting. I'm actually on the second sock, and it is, imagine that, no, that's not the right tag. I was gonna say it's another Opal, but it's not Opal. It is Supergarne Activ. This is what it looks like in the skein. This is not my typical color of yarn to work with, but my mom, who she's very knit worthy, and I've made her multiple socks. She is not like me. I like crazy socks on my feet. I don't typically like crazy up here, but like on my feet, I don't care if it matches the rest of me. It's like, that's fine. But she likes her socks to match what she's wearing. And she wears a lot of blue and black. And I typically don't knit in blue or black because those are more boring colors for me. Like when I say blue, I mean navy blue, okay? Like other blues, like that blue is really fun. That's the Autumn Acorn, that's a yarn from her. Those kind of blues are fun. It's the navy blues and the blacks. They're hard to see when you're knitting with them, and they're just kind of boring. They don't bring me joy when I knit. But my mom wears a lot of black and navy, so she had asked me if I could knit her a pair of socks that had black in them. And I spent some time looking on Etsy to find a commercial sock yarn that had black in it but wasn't all black. And so I found this yarn on I think I bought this on the Etsy shop that I buy most of my commercial sock yarns. I will link it below. She's based out of Wisconsin, so if you're in the States, she has free shipping and it's really fast shipping. So I have the first sock done other than to just close up the toe. And so although this hasn't been my favorite sock to knit on because these colors are just, they're just dull to my eye. That's the only way I can think of to describe it. But I love my mom a lot, so Mom, if you're watching, you probably are. I think she watches all my videos, even though she doesn't knit. These are for you, and I love you so much that I'm willing to knit black socks. Not totally black socks. No. Well, I mean, I would if you really wanted them, but see, I have this first one done, like I said, but the toe, and she likes the Shorty Socks, so I'm just doing the, I think I did, what did I do? Gosh, 12, I did 12 rounds of ribbing on this. I used size US 0 needles. So 12 rounds of ribbing, 8 rounds of just stockinette, and then I started the heel flap and gusset. That's how I'm doing these. And I think that'll give a nice ankle length. And then my mom is the same foot size as me, so it's easy when I knit her socks because I just knit them as I would knit myself. And then I cast it on the second one. and worked on this when I was at church. Got this done on Sunday and started the hill flap. So yes. So that's what's happening with these. Would not have picked this yarn if it wouldn't have been for my mom. I like brighter yarns. I like yarns that when I look at them, they just like make me feel light and happy. Blacks and navies don't do that for me. Although having said that, I have this charcoal that I picked up on like for a very deeply discounted price. It wasn't $12. It was, I think it was 40% off of that at a yarn sale last year. I bought 3 skeins of this, and this is the Barocco Remix Light. It's 100% recycled fibers, and I am going to use this to make myself a shirt for the summer, like some sort of tee. I haven't figured out which one yet, but again, I'm doing this because I really want just a basic t-shirt in this color, this charcoal color. But even the charcoal is better than pure black. I've never knit anything in pure black. It would be hard for me to do that. I could do it, but I don't know how much I would really enjoy it. Okay, and let me see what else here. Oh, so now I want to show you a crochet project that I'm working on. This is a prayer shawl that I'm working on. I'm actually going to be ripping this out, but I was going to show you anyway. So I am doing, I knit prayer shawls, I crochet prayer shawls at our church, and I was asked a couple of weeks ago if I could make one for someone in particular, and their favorite color was blue. So I don't always get that information. A lot of times when I'm knitting, I don't want to say knit because I also crochet them. A lot of times when I'm making a prayer shawl, it's anonymous. Well, this is anonymous too, but it's anonymous to the point where I don't even know anything about those people. Sometimes I do. But for this particular woman, I knew that her favorite color was blue, so I went to Michael's because I don't have blue yarn. I mean, I have that skein right there. I have a little bit of blue yarn, but I didn't have enough to make a shawl. And I didn't have enough in a care-friendly yarn fiber. So I didn't want to make something that had to be hand washed. I went to Michael's and I found this Caron cotton ripple cakes, and this is the color. What color is this? Summer Rain. That's what their pattern looked like. So at first I started this pattern and I didn't like how it was turning out, so I ripped that out, and then I started just the Carrie, I think it's called the Carrie Shawl by Sari Nordlund. I'll put a picture in here. I need to remember to do that. Let me write that down real quick because I'll forget. So then I started that, but I didn't like how that looked with this yarn, and I think it's because it's cotton, and so it just wasn't looking nice. I'm just being really overly particular. Then I found a pattern online called the Stormborn crochet wrap, and I loved the look of it. I'll put the picture in here so you can see what it looks like. That's knitted in worsted weight yarn, and I would say that's probably like a plump acrylic or a wool. I think it was a Lion Brand jeans is what that was, so it's probably acrylic. And I liked the look of it. It was, it just looked filled in and bloomed. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm trying to say. But I cast it on using this cotton yarn, which I would say is like a DK weight. Let me see. Yeah, it's considered a DK weight. And this is what I have so far, and I'm ripping it out. I'm just not liking it. I don't know why I'm being so particular about this. I'm just not feeling this shawl. And I'm actually thinking it's because I don't like the cotton yarn. So this is all made up of like double crochets, some mesh work, you can see that here, and bobbles, and then the bobbles will all repeat themselves down below. Oh, I have quite a bit done, and it's very drapey, and it would make an excellent like spring summer shawl, but I just feel like it's not. When I think of a prayer shawl, I think of a big cozy hug is what I imagine a prayer shawl to be. And I'm not getting those vibes from this. I'm getting more of the like, just, you know, drapey, airy, summery vibes from this one. So I'm going to rip it out. Feel better about this harmony ombre color. I looked up patterns that were, or projects that were made in it on Ravelry, and I specifically filtered the searches to be shawls, and I really like the look of it. I really like how it looks when it's crocheted or knitted. So I think I'm going to be happier with this, and it's also a worsted weight, and I think it's all acrylic, but it's going to be plumper, and so I think it's going to feel more like a hug than the cotton yarn is. So that's what's going on with that. But I don't know, normally when I knit or make a prayer shawl, I'm not so indecisive and just back and forth. So I don't know what's going on with me, but I just can't make my mind up about that. Okay, so next thing I want to show you is a sweater that I knit. And this sweater was the Hyla sweater. Oh my goodness, the design, who is the designer? I did this as a test knit, I think in 2020 or 2021. Maybe it was 2019, I don't know. I can't remember. Hyla sweater. Again, I will link that below. But I knitted it out of Knit Picks City Tweed. I think it was, no, it may not have been City Tweed. It was a Knit Picks Tweed. And I didn't wear it very often. So I gave it to my sister. I'm laughing because my sister, I don't know if I failed to tell her that it was hand wash or if I just forgot that the yarn was hand wash. I cannot remember how it happened, but I gave it to her and she loved it, and she wore it once, and she wore it to a Christmas party. So this just happened, and then like a week later she calls me and she FaceTimed me, and she holds up this shrunken sweater. She had laundered it in the washing machine and dryer and shrunk it. So here it is. This cracks me up. Like I wasn't even mad. I wasn't mad about it because It's just like this, a lot of us have shrunk things, right? I mean, I didn't shrink this, my sister did, but it was kind of funny because she felt so horrible and she was so upset because she really liked the sweater. But so I'm like, don't throw it out, give it to me. I'm going to felt it even more because it was like this, only the one sleeve hadn't completely felted. So I actually took it, earlier in the week, I refelted it, like I felted it even more. So it is super dense fabric. If you can, I don't know if you can see that, but it is some thick fabric now. And I said, I will figure out something to do with it. Don't throw it out. So what I'm going to do is cut it up and make probably one big hot pad. And I will cut a big square out of the front or out of the back and a big square out of the front. And then I'm going to put them together, whip stitch them together. But before I whip stitch them together, I think I'm going to do a little bit of embroidery on it. So hopefully my next episode, I can show you what I'm talking about. I don't know if this is making sense, but I'm always needing new pot holders because they get disgusting. You use them and, stuff gets spilled on them. And even though you wash them, they get stained. So I thought I'll just make myself a nice, pretty felted pot holder, and I'll do some really pretty embroidery on it. And then I think what I'm also going to do is maybe use parts of the sleeve to make some coasters and just do some embroidery on those. Or I'm going to figure out some way to use this. If you have any ideas, let me know. But beyond like coasters and hot pads. But yeah, it was kind of funny. Yeah. I have a friend who has a daughter that this sweater would fit her, but it would be like she had armor on. It's so stiff. She would just be like stuck. So I'm not even going to consider this as a sweater anymore. It's going to be cut up and recycled into something. I think that's all I have for projects and knits and crocheted items. But I want to talk really quickly about two projects I'm about to start. So the first one is the Sonder sweater, which I talked about like 3 episodes ago, but it's by the Petite Knitter, and it's this color work sweater. I was inspired by Stephanie of Edible Thoughts Makes, and I actually am copying her sweater. I commented on her episode, her YouTube. She has a YouTube channel, and I commented on her particular episode where she talked about this sweater, and I said, I am totally making one just like yours. So these are the colors, and this is Purl Soho good wool, right? Yes. 100% Andean wool. 383 yards skein, DK weight, and the color is Barn Door, so that's the reddish color. And hold on, I think it's like, what is the pink called? Gotta find it. Pink Salt. That makes sense. So this will be my contrast color. This will be my main color. And Stephanie's was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. And I think this is going to be so fun to make. I've actually had all my yarn wound up for weeks. I have my needles. I have my pattern. Everything in this bag. This beautiful bag, by the way, is by Delightful Works on Etsy. I love this bag. She actually gave this bag to me as a gift, and then she sent one for me to give away, which I did that last year. I love this bag so much. It's nice, and I love the canvas. I like sturdy canvas bags. I'll link her shop down below. But anyway, I've had it all in this bag ready to go, but then I cast on this, and I typically don't like to have more than one sweater going at a time. So the whole deal was, I said to myself, all right, Amber, when you finish the Felix pullover, then you can cast on the Sonder. And I love color work so much, so I'm really excited because I feel like it's been, gosh, when was my last color work project? I don't even remember. Feels like it's been a long time. So I have that all ready to go. I'm going to be starting that. I just need to do a gauge swatch. So typically the only time I do gauge swatches is when I knit garments. It's rare that I don't. Now, I didn't gauge swatch for this because I've knit this so many times. But if it's a pattern I've never knit before, a garment pattern, and I've never knit before, I will always do a gauge swatch. Okay, so that's the first pattern I'm planning on casting on. And then the second pattern is it's called the Forest Mat. I'll put a picture up. It is by Judy of the Autumn Acorn, and it is basically a mat that you can fold up, like roll up and carry in a bag and take out with you into the forest and put down on the ground so you can sit on it. And I do a lot of forest sitting, so this is very appealing to me. And I am actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was out in the woods and I was just kind of sitting there knitting, and my bum got a little wet because I didn't bring anything to sit down on. I was like, oh, I really need to make one of those forest mats. And I've had this pattern for a while. I think I've had it since whenever Judy came out with it. Was that last spring? I don't even remember. It was last year, I think. So I think that I'm going to do like a stripy version using this Lopi yarn and in these 4 colors, and just do some sort of stripy thing. And so the way you do this mat is you knit it. I think it's kind of knit in like a tube. I think. I haven't read through the pattern, but if I'm remembering correctly, it's kind of like a tube type thing. And then you do some felting to make it real thick so that it's going to be more waterproof. So this will be a good option for felting, and I liked these colors, and I like the idea of doing some stripes. So that's what I'm going to do. This is it's more like a pinky color. It's not really showing up very pinky. Okay, yeah, so that's what I'm doing with this. And I think that is all for today. Yeah, I think that's all. So as I said, I'll put all the links down below. If I happen to forget something, which is totally possible, just, drop me a comment, and I will try to edit the description and add it, because I do forget things sometimes. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, I have not been active on Instagram lately. It just hasn't been a priority for me. But if you want to follow me on there, I imagine I will probably get back to posting on there again. I haven't posted on there for maybe a couple of months. I don't even know. But that link is down below, as well as a link to my Goodreads account and my Ko-fi. I always forget how to pronounce that. If you would like to make a donation to the channel, I appreciate it. Thank you for those of you who have made donations. It's much appreciated. My email is also down below if you ever want to drop me a line. And I don't always answer comments, but I read them and I'm appreciative of them. Also, if you could like this video, that would be fantastic. And yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful time. Don't forget to comment down below if you would like to be entered for the sock pattern giveaway. Just like I said, mention that you're interested in the giveaway, and I will go ahead and randomly choose someone for that pattern for my next podcast episode, which will probably be in a couple of weeks. Okay, I hope you all are doing well. Take care. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.